All right, recording is started now. We have about 44 participants on the line. Let's bump that up. Let's shoot for our target of 100. But our speaker for today is Daine Clark. Now, if you haven't heard Daine's backstory, his introduction before getting started with Renatus, Daine was actually working as a roofer, and he was also working at the Apple Store. Now, when he was at the Apple Store, he wasn't your typical extroverted guy standing out in the front greeting everyone. He was more of the shy guy in the back, counting inventory and trying to avoid people. And he knew that he had to work on his personal skills and improve them. And around this time, neither of these jobs were really providing him the income opportunities that he felt that he had the potential for. So he started looking for other opportunities. He eventually did end up finding Renatus. He was looking for real estate opportunities. He found Renatus. He plugged into the Renatus system. And unlike many people, he actually listened to his mentors and followed what they said. And he applied the velocity banking to pay down his education debt and also used the leverage he had from that as a down payment on a duplex, living on one side, renting out the other. So we fast forward to today. Daine has now raised over $5 million from investors to do various real estate transactions. And he's grown his team. He's a PIT team member. And he's been recognized by the leader of the company, Bob Snyder, as a key leader himself. And we're very fortunate to have Daine as our presenter today. So without further delay, I'd like to bring Daine Clark on the line. Good morning, Daine. How's your day going today?
It's good, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Good. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm excited to be here. Back at it. Let's see. Is anybody else getting that feedback where it sounds like I'm talking twice, or is that just me?
I think that's just you, Daine. I think we can hear you loud and clear.
Cool. Well, I can handle that if it's just me. So, all right. Let me go ahead and share my screen here, and I'll start that, and we'll start a brand new thing. So today, I've been asked this a few times, and I feel like it's. Let's see. All right, there we go. So screen is shared, and back to this. So I feel it's really important to share this. I would hope that a lot of people know this already, but if you do or don't, doesn't matter. But I've noticed that as I have become more successful myself, as I've been able to close more deals myself, more students myself, that what it really comes down to is that I've been creating a system, where, and it's funny because I really thought about this when I had a brand new student that has not closed any sales yet. And she brought a couple of guests last week, and then both of those guests just happened to be able to sit down with me one-on-one, back to back. And so my new student, I wanted to make sure that they were there and they watched me do this one-on-one. And so from when was this? Monday. So on Memorial Day, from 9 a.m. until like noon, we just did one-on-ones back to back. And she made the comment afterwards, like, Daine, you said basically the same thing to both people, and both people signed up for a combo, like back to back. And it made me realize, like, oh my gosh, like people need to realize that is really how you are going to find success. If you can create a system that you do the same thing every single time, that's really the only way that you can count on a certain level of success for yourself. And so if you create that system where you do the same thing every single time. Now, obviously, when I started doing this and I started adopting this kind of a mindset, the same thing that I was doing every time wasn't working as well as it is now. So when I say doing the same thing every single time, essentially you need to build a template of what you do every single time. But obviously change it as you learn more, as you have gained more experience, as you get more feedback, as you network with other students. You know, if any of you have heard my follow-up, I talk about having peers around you is crazy important, because when you have people around you that are interested in the same things that you are, for example, let's use like you know, a lot of people might like I don't know, cars. And if you sit down with somebody who absolutely loves to talk about cars, but the other person is more of a I don't know, we could say a truck person, or maybe even say more of an outdoorsy, you know, like loves to ride mountain bikes or something like that, then the conversation, I mean, it can only go so far because one person isn't crazy interested. But if you have two people that sit down and just love working on cars and tearing things apart and tweaking things and fixing and you know, making it nice, or you know, whatever it is, then those peers that have similar interests can bounce ideas off of each other back and forth, and they can share stories that each other is absolutely going to appreciate, that are going to give them ideas on how to do whatever it is that they want to do a little bit better. And then you're going to be able to share good connections in that same industry, or that similar liking. You know, you're going to pass, you know, all kinds of things. So in Renatus, peers, you're going to get ideas from just networking with somebody. So at any chance you get to just talk to somebody about real estate, take it and bounce those ideas off. Whether you're the one telling the stories, I mean, believe me, I learn just because I have opportunities to tell stories, and just because I have opportunity to teach somebody else an idea that I gained through, you know, my Renatus education, or from other people's stories. But anyway, so back to the ranch on that is, I have that template of as I am. And this was, I remember why I went on that tangent now. You're going to upgrade your template as you go. And so if you look at my template of what I say to every single person, it basically looks like this. So I just have a bunch of bullet points. And so in my one-on-one, I'll give you my I'll just give you the template talking points. Now, obviously, I didn't say like the exact same thing to each person. I customized it to their liking and their situation. You know, I used different analogies, if you will, to help teach them based on their background. You know, one of them works as a contractor, and the other one works as a forgive me. It was something cool, technology type of stuff. But anyway, so just applied the same concepts to their situation. So in my one-on-one, my template is to start out, I want to get to know them just a little bit more. And I do ask questions very, very generally. And so I'll just say, tell me about yourself. And I love to just ask that question, because a lot of you will pick this up, where you'll understand not only a little bit about that person, but you'll understand what's most important to them. Because if you ask somebody and say, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself, they're like, and if they just start, you know, rattling off this or that or the other, then you know, like that's what's most important to them. And some people will say, well, what do you want to know about me? And so, you know, that person is a little more of like a detail oriented type of person. Like so as you're going through, then you might spend a little more time on some details for that person. But anyway, so I just straight asked them, so tell me about yourself, you know, as you're getting to know them. And then I like to change the conversation. And I in my template, I used to say, cool, well, you know, to really make this valuable, tell me what you really want. And I found that is the hardest question, and oftentimes would turn people off. because they're just like, oh, Daine, you're just, using it, use it, whatever. You're just using these tactics to get to know me so that you can sell me on what. And so sometimes I notice that people would kind of feel that way. And so the best way I've learned how to ask somebody what they really want is I would, after learning a little bit about them, I would say, cool. So I have a question for you. Let's say that you and I had the opportunity to work together, and we sat down, and I'll even like have them picture this in their mind. And I'll say, let's say you and I are sitting down again in this very location, wherever we are, in this very location. If we're at a real estate deal, I'll say, instead of being here at one of my deals, because obviously we're going to sell this one, then maybe we're sitting in front of your deal now, and so I'm creating an image in their mind in the future. And essentially I'm just doing this to ask them what they really want. So I say, all right, imagine yourself 1 year from now, you and I are sitting down in this very location, or instead of at my deal, we're at your deal. And you are telling me, because we're, this purpose of this meeting is kind of a review session. You are telling me why you had the best year ever. So if you're telling me, oh my gosh, Daine, this is the best year because what? And now this is what I want to know from you. What would have to happen between now and 1 year from now for you to be crazy excited to tell me what has happened in your life in the year? Go. And then I have them tell me, what would have to happen. And it's funny because you hear all of the same things of what you would just, that you would think you would hear if you just asked somebody, hey, what do you really want? But this really helps create those start those creative juices of somebody saying like, you know what, Daine, in a year from now, if I were to know, or if I were to be telling you that this was the best year of my life, I've always wanted to, and then they tell me, and I say, no, tell me in past tense, because imagine yourself, we're a year from now, okay? So you're imagining yourself already completing whatever this is. So you're telling me, I did this, I became this. And so I kind of coach them on how I set my own goals of, creating that future pace. I did this, I became this, I now have this, whatever it is. And so I get, and I even in my one-on-one, I actually even start writing down, 1, 2, and I start listing things. Okay. And so sometimes I get general things and this and that, and sometimes I get very specifics. Like one that I recently got from a gentleman that bought his combo a couple of weeks ago. He said, Daine, my grandfather is from Germany, and he has not been back to Germany in X number of years. I can't remember. But he said, I really want to pay for a trip where myself and my family, and I get to take my grandfather, all expenses paid for him. He just gets to show up and go. I really want to create that experience for my grandfather. And I really wanted to do that. And so I'm, as he's doing that, I'm sitting there writing, but I'm writing in past tense. I took my grandfather on an all expenses paid trip to Germany. And so that's kind of how I line it up. And then I say, cool, I love getting to know what you guys, or what you really want, why we're doing this. And sometimes if it's very general, like if somebody just says, oh, I just want to pay off debt. In my opinion, that word of paying off debt, it's kind of got a negative connotation to it. Like I hate that phrase. Oh, I want to pay off debt. And so even then, I'll coach them, and I'll make it positive. Whatever it is that they want, I'll make it positive. Like if they say, I don't want to work at my job anymore, that's a negative. What you really want is, and then I'll erase this, I'll erase things, and I say, all right, let me share with you how I like to do. I like to make everything very positive. So if you tell me that you don't want debt, what you're really telling me is that you want to own everything you have, free and clear. So like if they tell me they have a car, you want to own your car free and clear. Instead of saying you pay off the car, I own it. I own my car. I own my education free and clear. I own my student loans free and clear if they have student loans. I own my house. Obviously 1 year is pretty ambitious depending on how much they owe. But anyway, you guys get the idea. I flip that positive. I want this or that. If they say I don't want to work at a job, then I'll say I want to provide for my family through entrepreneurial activities. Instead of saying I don't want my job, I want to provide for my family or myself through entrepreneurial activities, or by starting a business, or whatever. And so anyway, I always create that toward what you want. And I'll change that for them. And again, make it past tense. I now own everything free and clear. Okay. So, and that usually takes, maybe 5-10 minutes, something like that. Not a super amount of time, a super lot of amount of time. But that's when I'll dive into the nitty-gritty of my presentation. And so step 3 becomes, all right, let me share with you a strategy on how I was able to, this doesn't, I would even share stuff like this when I hadn't done a lot of deals. Or I saw people doing this when I personally didn't have any deals myself, but I would share a strategy and say, all right, here's how most people that get into real estate deals do it. And you guys have probably all heard this, but I just share with them the 3-phase plan. First, get your essentials done, because you're going to learn some taxes, you're going to learn some business, you're going to learn some banking strategies, you're going to learn some credit strategies, you're going to learn how to find leads on some deals. You're going to learn how to use retirement account money for real estate. Okay, so you're going to learn a lot of very valuable things, not necessarily how to go flip a house or how to go buy an apartment complex, but you're going to learn some essential aspects to getting into real estate and creating a business system in real estate too, instead of just going and doing like a deal every once in a while. Like if you really want to create a income for yourself, and I'll always refer back to what they want. If you really want to provide for your whole living expenses through entrepreneurial activity, then you're going to have to start thinking system. I'm going to have to build a system with obviously a bunch of help of all my peers and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I talk about the strategy, and you guys all know this, so I'm going to fly through this. But essentially, get done with your get done with your essentials. And then I added this aspect in it for people just because it's really going to help them down the line, where I can refer back to this very meeting as my students are going along and working towards their first deal. I tell them, so this is the educational aspect to this strategy, is getting this done. Okay, this is classroom setting. Yeah, you need to know this stuff. And the purpose of getting crazy educated all at one time is because as you actually go out there and do this, because there's going to need to be some hands-on learning. And so notice that I'm appealing towards the auditory what do they call that? The auditory learner, the kinesthetic learner, the hands-on person that basically I give that person that says, well, Daine, I learn more hands-on. I don't even give that person an opportunity to make that a complaint. I just add it in. And so I tell that person, so future pace, as you're learning on the hands-on portion of learning how to do real estate, then these things are going to pop into your mind as you need them. Okay, that's how learning works. Is you learn a bunch of stuff, and then when you get out into the field, if you took some good notes and you actually had spent a moment to think about what you're learning, then you get out into the field for the hands-on portion of the learning, then things are going to pop into your mind, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I remember Chris Albin talked about this, or Hugh Zaretsky, or whoever, whatever instructor, their words are going to pop into your mind. That has happened to me too many times to count as I was building my real estate business, where I'm like, oh my gosh, Jay Massey, I remember Jay Massey said this or that or the other, as I was going around and conduct, figuring things out, I guess, if you will, on how to make some money. And so I talk about that future pace, and I appeal to both types of learning. But then I say this, and this also, this does a couple things for me. Number one, this is obviously a real thing that they're going to have to learn. But number two, what I also want is for that person to adopt the desire to share Renatus with other people. And so I start planting that very early on. I don't full out talk about it ever. In fact, most of my students never even hear about the marketing opportunity until after they've joined, paid, and started their education. And but here's how I start planting those seeds that creates the opportunity, or creates the desire in them, early on. And so this is what I do. And in fact, the person that I was just talking about that made me really think about this, that sat behind me as I was doing a one-on-one in my truck, that said, Daine, you do the same thing every single time. She was one of those people that early on, when she did actually learn about the opportunity to bring people, she was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know, whatever. And then as she started going through this process about what I'm about to share with you here, she's like, Daine, I need to start sharing this with people, because this is how I'm really gonna learn how to get into deals. So anyway, this is what I share with people to create that future pace. And I say, all right, so the education is great, but there's a people aspect to this as well. People need people. If you want to make money in real estate, you're gonna have to have somebody somewhere write you a check, or somebody somewhere swipe their card or wire money into whatever. And so there's a people aspect to this. And then I always tell people, because some people are, if it was me back then, this would have scared me. And so what I like to do here is be very assertive and almost authoritarian, where I say, all right, I'm going to get you out of your comfort zone just a little bit. And a lot of people actually associate that if they get out of their comfort zone, then they're going to have success. A lot of people already think that success has to be outside of their comfort zone. And so I just prep them for it. And I say, all right, I'm going to push you just a little bit to get out of your comfort zone. And that makes you now a leader that they want to follow. And so I'll say stuff like that. Say, all right, I'm going to push you. So here's how this works. So level one, I call this the networking aspect of it. Level one is I want you to start talking to peers. And then we already kind of talked about this up here before, but I want you to start talking to peers, because peers are, like I said before, peers are the ones that you can sit for hours and talk about real estate and share ideas back and forth, okay, and hear other people's stories. in real estate, or tell stories, whatever. Okay. And then I just start making the list of connections, deals, money, okay, peers, friends. Making friends that are also interested in real estate is going to be very important. Okay. So, and if you look behind the scenes of what I just did, I essentially am prepping them to say, I am going to ask you to talk to people that you consider a friend, and open a real estate conversation with those people. Okay. Yeah. Peers also means Renata students. That, that's a given, but it also means non-Renatus students. Yeah. And so, but I don't tell them that. I just say peers, people that want to talk to you about real estate. How do you know they want to talk to you about real estate? You just bring it up and you ask them, hey, have you ever considered getting involved in real estate? Okay. Obviously, if you ask a Renata student that, they're going to be like, well, yeah, I own Renatas. But anyway, so I prep them that way, and I say, you want peers, okay? And I talk about all the benefits of having peers in real estate, okay? Then I move on. All right, now we want to get into what I call AIT. And at this point, I try to just kind of go general and just kind of touch on the exciting stuff. Because AIT is so vast of what they could do. I don't want to confuse them. I don't want to get them, I don't want to turn them off, because a confused mind quits. And so at this point I say, all right, at this point, once you've accomplished this, you've been networking and you've been going through some classes, then I don't expect you to make a decision on this now. But at this point, you'll have a really good idea, again, future pace. At this point, you'll have a really good idea of what you want, whether you want to flip a house, and maybe you already know what you want, but maybe you want to flip a house. Maybe your first deal, you want to go after a rental. I actually have had some students that said, Daine, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I just want an apartment complex. And that was the first deal that he went after and actually just picked it up a few months ago. And so I just start kind of saying that, like, you'll probably want this, or you might want that, or this, you'll know a lot more because you're more educated and you've been networking and you're in the trenches. Okay. But I just tell them, we're going to pick one thing to make you some money. And that's what I want you to focus on 100%. Okay. And so I just kind of list off some things. And I say, but at that point, whatever it is that you pick, it doesn't matter. Could be starting your own bank, could be land development, could be apartments, could be, whatever. Essentially, what you're going to learn is the strategies on how to do that. You're going to learn how to analyze those types of deals. You're going to learn how to mitigate risk in those types of deals. You're going to learn how to create partnerships. And so you'll also notice that some of these classes that I'm referring to happen to be in the bonus track, not just because I want them to only buy a combo, but because that's what's really going to help them. The bonus track, for me, in real life, I really didn't start doing deals until I had been going through the content in the bonus track. That's when it really put everything together for me, where it's like, okay, now this makes sense. And so I tell them that these are going to be some of the very most important classes. How to finance those types of deals, again, in the bonus track, raising money in partnerships, financial strategies, those couple of classes. Oh, it's supposed to be an R right there. Anyway, so I just start listing off, doesn't matter which one you pick. If you pick fix and flips, we're gonna learn fix and flip strategies, fix and flip analyzation techniques, fix and flip risk mitigation techniques, partnerships, so on and so forth, rental, so on. You guys get that. So then I say, all right, level two in talking with people the people aspect or networking is going to be professionals. This is where you've already got some experience under your belt, some skin in the game, if you will. You've been learning, you've been talking to people. Now it's time to start interviewing professionals. And again, this could be Renata students, this could be non-Renata students. I have professionals on my real estate team that are not Renata students as well. You know, realtors and title agents and, you know, whoever I need, inspectors and things like that. A lot of them are, or a lot of them become Renata students, because when you deal with a professional that is not a Renata student, and you start, and I like to, I heard this from my dad way back in the day, back on the farm, but he used to say, don't blow your nose, Knows, don't blow your nose in public. In other words, he used to say, talk less, you know, listen more than you speak, type of a thing. But, you know, kind of a funny way to say, don't blow your nose in public. And nose, Knows. The more I have had you know, success or been able to make some money in real estate, I've actually learned that no, you need to blow your nose in public all the time. And so now I blow my nose all the time, and not my nose, but my Knows, my nose, my knowledge. So you blow your knowledge all over, you know, not in a cocky way, but you just start sharing ideas and your strategies and how you're going to mitigate risk and how you're going to create partnerships and how you're going to finance and how you're going to analyze your deals with people in the public. So I say blow your nose all the time in public in that fashion, obviously. And I hope you guys understand what I mean. You know, don't just be cocky, but actually share things with the professionals, especially if they're not Renata students. And so you're going to need a contractor, you're going to need a title agent, you're going to need maybe an equity partner. If you need to raise any money, you're going to need a hard money lender. You're going to need maybe let's see, what am I missing here? An attorney, a CPA, and then I start, and I at some point, you know, I just start making a list, and I kind of want to make it daunting ish to just to know, like, hey, you might need some help putting this team together. Okay, and that's what we're here for. That's why we have communities. That's why, you know, that's what the purpose of Renatus is, not just education, but the community benefits. And so I start talking about that, and I say, but here's the catch. You don't just want any CPA or attorney or contractor or title agent, because, I mean, just as an example, if you go to, you know, because everybody has a CPA family member that, you know, that is, or even a realtor. Everybody has that friend or family member that is a realtor. Imagine yourself going to that realtor friend and saying, hey, friend that's a realtor, I would like to go buy a house. Here's my criteria. I want to buy a house that I can turn around and sell for $100,000 more than I bought it for within, you know, like a 4-month period. You know, imagine yourself going to that realtor and saying that. They are probably going to think you are crazy. In fact, that is one of the first times in my own personal life and my own experience, that was one of the first times I got openly laughed at by an adult, was when I told a realtor that was my goal. Hey, I want to buy a house. I want to sell it for $100,000 more than I bought it for within a 4-month period. And so I kind of plant that experience, or that image in their mind, that you're going to need a competent professional, a competent CPA, a competent attorney, a competent title agent, contractor, equity partner, you know, so on and so forth. And so level 2 is we start interviewing professionals. Again, this could be Renata students. It's a little bit easier of a conversation, but because, you know, they joined Renatus for the purpose of real estate investing, and they wanted to learn and be the professional. But anyway, essentially, the conversation that you have with a Renatus student that is a professional, and the conversation that you have with a non-Renatus student that is a professional, is not or I should say, shouldn't be that different. One mistake that I see new students make is that they join Renatus and they just think that this becomes a given. That, oh yeah, like everybody is my contractor, everybody is my CPA, attorney, title agent. Like, no, you still have to have a conversation. And honestly, it'll be a very similar conversation that you have with a contractor that's not a Renata student, or a title agent that's not a Renata student. Yeah, and that conversation starts becoming like, hey, here's what I'm doing. This is my goal, to flip my first house. Let's just use that example, to flip my first house this year. Okay, and so I'm going to be making a bunch of offers eventually, and I need to know what I can and cannot commit to. And so, what are you capable of, Mr. Contractor? If I get a property under contract, how quickly can you come through and give me a ballpark number of what you think I can get this property done for? Okay, and then how long will it take you to give me the actual hard bids? Okay, because I need to know that inside of my due diligence, because I may need to renegotiate based on the numbers that, So anyway, you guys, I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here, that kind of a conversation you need to have with a Renata student or a non-Renata student of, hey, if you're going to be on my real estate team, I need to know what you're capable of too. Okay. And so anyway, so I don't go in depth with the prospect at this point. I like to try and keep this quick, go through this, in just maybe 20 minutes. But anyway, I think you guys are kind of picking up what I'm talking about. Level 2 is we start interviewing professionals. Okay. And then I say, at that point, we're going to turn off education, because now all I want you to do is the hands-on. Now you can do hands-on here as you're learning how to find deals. Go find a deal and kind of practice and make an offer. Make an offer on a deal, but don't be like, yeah, we're going to buy this, because if you don't have all of this stuff together, especially this portion where in level 2, where you're putting together your team, if you go make an offer, how do you expect to do this portion of when you find a deal and you analyze that deal and then you make an offer and they say yes to your offer? How do you expect to get all these people in there in a timely fashion and within your due diligence, getting bids? Like, you don't want to be having that opener conversation with this person after the yes. And I say that from experience, because I would go make an offer and get somebody to say yes and be like, all right, who's going to give me money? And start asking around, who's got money? I got, and went about that all wrong. But instead, the more success I've had is establishing that up front. But anyway, so I kind of give them that idea. And I say, notice that when you get the yes, instead of panicking, you have all these people to go back to and say, hey, I got one. Hey, contractor, I got one. Hey, title agent, I got one. Hey, equity partner, I got one. Let's look at this deal together, and so on and so forth. And so essentially, I'm just creating that process in their mind where they're like, oh man, yeah, this makes sense. This is, we don't like to use the word easy, but this is simple. As long as I do this, like this strategy that we're sharing here, then this is going to be a little more simple. Okay. And so anyway, so that I get to that point where they say yes, I say, all right. And then we do our first deal, and you've got all these professionals that are helping you with your deal. And let's just use the example of flipping a home. And so depending on the home size, but if you're in my neighborhood, I typically say, let's set a goal for 120 days and cash that check at the end, after we sell. Okay. So at that point, once we're in that phase of doing that first deal, then you can go back and start this process again and rinse and repeat and do another deal and look for another deal. Okay. Because now you're thinking like a CEO. And so anyway, So like I said, it takes me like maybe 20 minutes to get to this point, maybe 25 minutes to get to this point. Go through it very quickly and just kind of give them a snapshot overview of, hey, this is a good strategy that I've used and I've seen people use to have success in climbing that mountain to their first real estate deal. Okay. And then I ask them one question and I say, so does this make sense to you? Do you like the idea? And I say, just like that, like, does this make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Do you like the idea? Okay. And they always say yes, especially if you say it that way. Does this make sense to you? Do you like the idea? And they'll be like, yeah, I like this. Makes sense. I like this. I say, great. And that's when, at this point, they already know it costs $20,000 and they're still meeting with me. So that's when I say, all right, let me share with you some ideas on how, let's see, what time is it? Let me share with you some ideas on how a lot of people have been able to get started. And I'll come back to this and I'll say, let's see, essentials. Right here, this is day 1. Okay, I call this the unlock session, where we are going to unleash you on this strategy. Okay, so my goal is to help you get to this point as quickly as possible so that you can start. And at this point, I can start assigning classes to you, and we can set some clear goals based on all of these things that you shared with me. And so we can work backwards from these goals of what is going to have to take the place, how much time is it going to have to take you to get through this, to get through this, to get through, so on and so forth. Okay. And so I just build it, the unlock session. And so I build that because I want people to get excited about the unlock session, which means pull out your credit card. Let's unlock your education so you can start watching. So I can assign classes. So I can give you your a roadmap, if you will, of things that you need to do next. Once you have, essentially, my goal is for them to never wonder what to do next. Okay. And so anyway, so I build that and I say, all right, so let's talk about how we can get you as quickly as possible to that unlock session. And that's when I just start telling stories. So with the compliance that's been coming through corporate, to make sure that we are doing good practices of helping people buy the Renatus education. Some of the best ways that I've learned how to help people fund their education is tell them stories of other people who have actually bought their education. And so in fact, if I've ever asked you, this is why I asked you this question of, hey, how did you buy your education? Because if depending on how you did it, if it's going to add a new story to my tool belt that I can share with somebody to be like, hey, here's an idea that's easily duplicatable. Sorry, not easily, duplicatable. Then I'm going to share that. Okay. So at that point, I just start sharing stories. And so I've picked some stories of people who used 0% credit cards. This was actually myself. So I used that story of this. Hey, this is how I did it. I used stories of people who funded with a 401k. And so I share that story of people. I share stories of people who used life insurance. This one is not near as often. So I typically use this one, a little bit towards the end. But in fact, here, I'll even just put this in the order that I like to share stories. That's most common. And so some people have cash that they put down, and some people use 0% and a little bit of cash. Some people have used a 401k, and I share stories. Here's how this person did this, and just due to time, we don't have time to go through all the stories that I like to share. But 0% is cash, 401k, UGA is a really good option for people. The life insurance, is a good option. You know, and sometimes I'll even share stories. So like Christian Sadler, which is a pillar in our community, I mean, he refinanced his car and pulled money out of his car so that he could put down on some education. Yeah. So anyway, you guys understand that stories sell, facts tell. Okay. So I just start telling stories. This person did this, this person did this. And then I share one story where I was like, oh, and this person, he did, or she, it was a she actually. She did all of them. She used a little bit of 0% cards. She had a little bit of cash, borrowed a little bit of money out of their 401k where they only had like $10,000. So they pulled out like five. They used the, you know, and then they used the rest with UGA. And so I share that story too, where, you know, to just give them that idea, because most people, as you watch the stories, or sorry, when you listen to stories, you can see yourself in the story. And so I share that one where, oh, this person did this person did this person did this, and this. Oh, and this person did all of them because, you know, they didn't have enough in one category. They just joined them all together and were able to move forward. And then I even start liking to share stories of saying, oh, and that person, you know, did this, and that person did this. You know, obviously results are not typical. Everybody a little bit different. But this person was able to accomplish this. Okay. So again, this is why it's awesome to have your Renatus community and share other people's stories. Because then basically what you're doing at this point is telling them testimonials of other people that are not just you that were able to buy their education. Okay. And so then after I share some stories and things like that, and I try to make them inspiring. And then once we've got those, I zoom out from all the things that we've talked about, and I say, all right, I got a dumb question for you at this point. Are you ready? And I literally say it like that. I got a dumb question for you. Are you ready? And they're always just like, yeah. You know, they kind of laugh a little bit, and that's the purpose, is to kind of make them smile. So do you want to keep doing what you've been doing, or do you want to do this? And I'll point at it and I'll start nodding my head yes. Do you want to keep on doing what you've been doing, or do you want to do this? Nod your head. Yes. And then they're like, well, yeah, this is a no-brainer. I get that a lot. Well, yeah, of course I want to do this. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Ooh, and one of the stories that I do like to share, I forgot about this, is some people that utilize like velocity banking. And so that's kind of a hybrid of the 0%. Okay. So yeah, share all those stories at the end. Dumb question, do you want to do this? Well, I nod my head yes. Okay. And very rarely, I mean, every once in a while, but very rarely do I get people who are like, no, not really. And so once they say like, yeah, this makes sense. I like the idea. I say, great, here's the next steps. And I list them out again. Step 1, we're going to create your account. Fancy way to say put their order in. Okay. Step 2 is we are going to, which one of these do you feel like is going to be best for you? Then I can kind of give you some more ideas on things that you can do. Okay. So step 2 is we're going to figure out how we're going to fund it. Yeah. And it's okay if you have plan A, plan B, plan C, it's okay if the first idea that comes to your mind doesn't end up working. There's a few people that tried this, tried that, and ended up funding their education a different way than they originally thought. So essentially I just make it okay that if their first thought of how they're going to fund their education doesn't work, I don't give them the excuse, or I don't give them an opportunity to make an excuse of, oh, it didn't work. I basically tell them like, hey, if you want success, then you're going to try it this way, you're going to try it this way, you're going to try it that way until it works. Okay. And I say, all you need to do at this point is just make the decision. I want to do this. And like magic almost, things are going to be popping into your head of what you can do, of how you can take action towards your goal. I mean, that's how life works, is you make assertive decisions of what you want to do and what you want, then things start popping into your mind of what you can do next. Yeah. And so anyway, so we'll figure out how we're going to fund it. It's okay if we have to use a couple different strategies. And then once we're able to fund it, then we're going to unlock your education. And we're going to, that session where we unlock education, we'll set some goals, assign some classes. Okay. And so they know what that means, that I'm going to assign the first class, and it's always Mark Kohler, tax and legal, because that's one of the ones that packs like a big punch of Mark is entertaining and he's very educational. And he even actually in tax and legal day one, he actually talks about setting some goals and achieving what you want in some of those goals. Okay. So assign tax and legal day one, tax and legal one, or the velocity banking, depending on what their interests are. It's usually one of those two classes, tax and legal one or velocity banking class. And then I say, all right, do you know what to do? Cool. Let's create your account. This takes like 5, maybe 10 minutes, really fast. And then we're going to schedule a follow-up meeting. How much time do you feel like it would take you to do, whatever it is that they told me? Like if they say, oh, the 401k, I've got that. I'll say, cool. How much time do you think it'll take you to figure out how much you can borrow from your 401k? Oh, usually it takes like 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. Cool. So we're going to regroup in 48 hours and your homework to have done before we meet. Okay. So at this point I schedule the next appointment that we're going to meet with them. Okay, so schedule next appointment. Schedule the next appointment that we're going to meet. Your homework to have done before we meet is XYZ. Whatever this is that you choose. Talk to your custodian. See what it would take to get you 0%. Which also, when I did this, I did use Credit Nerds to get the 0%. Okay, not a bad way to go. So anyway, that's your homework, is do this, or this. And then if we have it in that next meeting where we unlock, then we'll unlock your education. If not, then we'll go a little bit deeper into some other strategies and keep you excited, and regroup and then give you more homework to do. And then in the meantime, because this is the next one-on-one, in the meantime, come down to also the next community event. So I'll schedule a couple of events at that moment. Come to the next community event as well. Okay. And so this is essentially what I say every single time, that if the person is closable, they put their order in every single time at this moment. And I assign homework and a time frame of when they need to have it done and when we meet again. Okay. So I haven't been checking the questions, so let me jump over here really fast. And we've got just a couple of comments here. How long can an unpaid order in the system stay in the back office? What if they only can end up funding only essentials and you put in the Cabo? Okay, so Amanda, Renatus will delete the account that is not funded in like 30 days, I've seen, sometimes maybe 45 days. And so let's say they can only do an essentials later on, then I'll just put in a brand new essentials order. And you can even email corporate and say, hey, will you delete this old order if you want? But they will just delete it after so much time. And so a brand new order, essentially, and that's totally fine. I really just do that because I want them to get in that. I want them to pull out a pen or my Apple Pencil, and I want them to sign something, or pull out their finger and sign something, or on their computer screen, use the mouse, and I want them to sign something just because it makes them feel like hey, they're signing up for this. And so I just want to get that signature. I mean, that's how it works even in real estate, is get signature. That's what you want. And so if people give any pushback with giving me signature and say, oh, but I still need to, this or that, I think about this or whatever, I say, oh, no, don't worry. This is not the pushy car salesman tactic of you sign and then I get to go and collect. This is just being able to create the account. While you're in the decision-making process, you'll already have the account that you can start poking around in the back end and, look in there. And if you make the decision to go full force with this, then your account is already created. And so you can just fund the account and unlock your education instantly, whether I'm here or there, whatever, you already got access to this. But let's say you decide that you don't like me in a week or two from now, and you don't even want to do this, then we just never fund the account, and they'll just delete it in like 30 days. So I basically make it okay. I only say that if they're giving me pushback of, oh, Daine, I don't want to sign this. I say, no, you can still sign this and still tell me no if you want. Okay, this is just a process. This is just the process of making your decision. You have the account that you can kind of poke around in and stuff like that. I say, oh, okay, cool. So even when people give me the pushback of I don't want to sign that, I still usually get the signature and make them. Let's see, if it's deleted, I put in a new order, or do I have to wait so many days? No, you can put in a new order. No worries there. How do you deal with someone who having any kind of credit, has no money to put down on UGA or billing? Story. It's 9 o'clock, so we've got to wrap this up for us. But essentially, one of the stories that I forgot to talk about is the sexy payback plan. So I tell a story of somebody who went to grandma and, for sake of time, basically went to grandma, didn't ask grandma for money, but said, grandma, how much you making in your, how much interest or how much ROI are you making in your investment accounts? If I doubled that dollar, or if I doubled that rate, would you borrow me $20,000? Or let's say they could only afford, let's say they only get somebody that gives them like $500. If you could give me $500 and I paid you an interest rate, would you give it to me? Sexy payback plan. Don't teach people to just go ask for money. Teach people how to basically like a real estate deal. I mean, I've asked people for millions of dollars because I offered them money back from real estate. So if they go offer somebody money back, say, hey, if you give me $500 to put down on some real estate investor education, to buy my UGA essentials, I think the exact dollar amount that they need to put down on UGA is like $423.80 or something like that. But just cowboy math, let's call it $500. And then the payment on a UGA essentials is only like $101 a month or something like that. I've had some people get $4,000 down and then just make the UGA Extreme Plus combo payment. But yeah, great question. So cool. We are at the top of the hour. I've got a call that I've got to jump onto. So thank you guys all. I hope this was helpful, and we'll talk to you soon.